you for tuning in to today's review on the Sanmartin SN057. Please use this time to hit the subscription button and remember to hit the notifications bell so you are up to date with all the latest reviews. Remember to check the description where you will find any related links to the watch being reviewed and any additional accessories. You'll also find my email address and link to my eBay store. Feel free to leave a comment below. I hope you enjoyed the review and thank you for watching. Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. As you saw in the intro video and the thumbnail, today we're going to be reviewing the Sanmartin SN057 Seiko 6309 Turtle Homage. I was very excited to receive this and very excited when I saw that they had produced one. I think to my knowledge, to date, it's only Heimdallr and Sanmartin that have reproduced a homage to the Seiko 6309. So a quick look at it. So I already unwrapped it. The box, as you probably know by now, if you are familiar with Sanmartin, you get the tag, you get a warranty card with a date and stamp on there, and you get a Sanmartin instruction manual, user manual and warranty conditions. Usually if you buy from AliExpress and you actually buy from the official stores, in regards to warranty and returns, they are pretty good, and they will, either resolve your issue or get the watch returned. Sanmartin has yet to release another color option. They've only got the one in black, and they've got a special edition, call it, with the grey wave of Kanagawa dial available. Let's give it a quick once over on the camera to see what we are dealing with. Straight out of the box, first impressions, stunning watch. No doubt you can already tell they've done an awesome job of this, and just in my hands, I can tell you now, it looks very OEM. Let's look at specifications and dimensions. The spec is a pretty standard spec now. It's what we're used to and become accustomed to. So the movement is NH35A. It's a Seiko Epson movement with 24 joules. It hand winds and hacks, and it beats at 21,600 beats per hour, which will translate into a sweep of 6 ticks a second. So these are called low beat movements. The specification: you've got a black ceramic bezel insert, you've got a domed AR coated sapphire crystal, and obviously you've got 316L stainless steel case. Dimensionally, we're looking at a 45mm diameter case. We've got a 48mm lug length and 14mm case thickness with a 22mm lug width. If you're interested, or if you're wondering, how does it compare to the 6309 Seiko Turtle? The specs, dimensionally, it's not far off at all. The 6309 is a 45mm diameter watch, 48mm lug to lug with a 13mm case thickness. So there's a mil difference between the thickness of the case, and I'll explain later on why that is. And you also got a 22mm lug to lug. It's worth noting that also comes with a crown roughly located at the 350 mark and not the 4 PM mark. So it's good to see that Sanmartin have stuck almost millimeter accurate to the original specifications, because as you know, if you are accustomed to Seikos, this is probably the most iconic Seiko ever made. Of course, you've got the 6105 Captain Willards. However, when the 6309 came out, until this day, it is probably one of the most recognizable Seikos out there with this cushion style case. So when we start looking at the finer details, personally I like to work my way from the dial and then go out into the rest of the watch. So instantly you can tell the dial, the indices are very recognizable. We've seen them before on a lot of the Turtle homages, a lot of the Seiko homages, and this is the old style Seiko dial. You also can find similar indices, especially the 12 and the 6 very much like the Marine Master ones as well. And like with most of these indices, they are done to a very high quality. You can see there's a silver outline to the applied indices. You've got a beautiful shine and shimmer. The dial itself is pure black, but I believe you can see it's not a matte dial, so you do have a very nice, almost satin or acrylic finish to it, but it's not overpowering and it's not causing any unwanted glare. At the 3 p.m, you've got a date window with a really lovely border around it, nice frame. And I always mention on my videos, I prefer a date window to be outlined so it does stand out, so it does increase its visibility. At the 12 o'clock, you've got the applied sanmartin logo. Now, I absolutely love this kind of logo. Look how plain and simple it is, but because it's applied and they use a slightly stylized font, it looks way better if we were to compare it to the Submariner dial, where they printed a sanmartin font logo in the most boring font ever. At the 6 p.m, you've got automatic water 200 meters resist. The attention to detail on this watch so far is absolutely phenomenal. Sanmartin have really paid a great deal of attention to the smaller things, the refinements. You've got this black glossy chapter ring as well. They haven't gone for a matte one. And you've got the glossy dial, so they match up perfectly. And I think for me, the best feature so far on this watch has to be, look at that handset. You've got a lollipop seconds hand, and you've got these broad arrow style hour and minute hands. Now I'm going to try something different today. I recently bought a microscope just for me to play about with, and I wanted to just see very up close what the hands are like. So enjoy the next shot. This is going to be on a microscopic level, just to see the level of machining on this, because on the face of it, just at you know, eye level, you can see that there's a few fine details on the hands that you can miss if you don't look at close enough. So the first improvement that I like is on the second hand, you can see it's like a button top, so you can no longer see the pivot hole where the second hand sit into. So that, I think, adds to the finishing. You can also see this really lovely brushed finish to the hour and minute hand, and you've got a very slight chamfered edges on either side of the hands. So there's a high level of machining visible. This is what does it for me on watches. So, and I'm sure a lot of people are the same. You got to focus on those really key details and refinements. And with Sanmartin, as I mentioned on the Submariner video, because they are setting themselves up to such a high standard, I really want to push that standard, and I will be overly critical of Sanmartin, because you're here telling us, look how good we are. So then naturally makes you want to go in a bit deeper to actually see how good they are. So enjoy that little microscopic shot. Let's have a look at that. So you can see that awesome close-ups. Obviously, the closer you get, you can see the slight imperfections, but at that level, that was quite minimal, I'd say. The brushing is clean and smooth, and the cutting, you know, it is almost perfect. The loom used on the indices and the hands, it's BGW9, which is a blue color loom. I do quite like that myself, I have to say. It's a nice change to step away from the usual C3 that you see, but I do enjoy both. The C3 will last longer than BGW9, but usually it's still a very pleasant loom to look at. Let's have a look and see how it looks. As per the usual with Sanmartin, you're not going to be in for any nasty surprises when it comes to loom. Look how clear, crisp that loom is. BGW9. You can see on the 12 o'clock paper on the ceramic bezel insert, hands, that lollipop second hand, perfect visibility. As mentioned, it's not going to last as long as C3 Super Luminova, but it will still do a fantastic job and longevity will be adequate. Let's have a look at bezel insert. Very well done. As mentioned, ceramic, so you get that added scratch resistance. As you saw in the loom shot, the indices around the bezel insert, it's not fully loomed. For me, I don't mind either or. There are people that do prefer that. So if Sanmartin did an option, that would be good. It might hit a few other potential customers. So they've added this feature that they've got on all the newer Sanmartin models, at least, this subset pip. One of my favorite features of Sanmartins, to be honest, and I wish other brands start taking this over. It just sits so flush, and as mentioned in previous videos when I've looked at it, I'd say it's one of the best looking designs for the loom pips. Sapphire crystal. I like to look at fit and finish on the watches, and you can tell very, very good fit and finish. As mentioned, it's a domed sapphire crystal. I'd say it's a single dome because it doesn't protrude as much. Now, I'm very particular when it comes to types of crystal. I don't like double dome sapphire crystals on a lot of watches. I like it on things like the Marine Master because it's a thick watch anyway, but for me, I don't like a crystal that distorts the shape of the case. Now, case in point, the SKX007, for me, as a personal preference, if I see a double dome crystal on there, it does ruin the actual shape of the SKX, in my opinion. So, and I do agree, I do like this single dome, and it's something which I wanted to do to my original turtle. I want to actually add a single dome sapphire on there because it's not making it a, overly round, but you can see, just give you a good side on, it's just enough. And see how that sapphire crystal does sit pretty flush with the case. I mentioned this because you can see on some steel dives, for example, that's the example that's coming to my head, some of their watches, the crystals sit way above the case. Now, and I'm guilty of this as well. I think people start assuming that that's how it's meant to look, and I've called one crystal, top hat. It's not a top hat crystal. It's just, looking at it now, thinking about it, it's just poor fit and finish. They need to go for crystals that actually fit the profile of the case and not just stick anything in. I don't like the protruding crystals unless it's meant to be a top hat style sapphire, which is easily distinguishable. You can tell that from a mile off. Moving on to the case, of course, it's a very recognizable case. It's a cushion case, made famous, obviously, by the turtle. Now, this case is one of my favorite cases on watches. A couple of reasons. The form, fit, comfort of this case is unreal. It's quite hard to match, to be honest. And which also means that dimensionally it can be quite large. So 45 millimeters on case diameter is quite wide if you think about it. So imagine a Submariner case, or imagine a rectangular case, circular case. It will look quite large on your wrist. And your lug to lug 48 mil. Yes, it's below 50, but it's still quite large. But because the way the case is made, this is one of the most comfortable watches that you can wear, hands down. Another nice little feature of this case is you've got this inset crown, which also adds to comfort. You don't feel the crown at all on your wrist when you're wearing it. What Sanmartin have also done, they've gone for this Seiko standard brushed A-face and high polished sides back, and you've got a brushed case back. So I prefer brushed A-faces on most of my watches because, especially with the turtle, and they're coming out as dive watches, so tool watches, people use them as beaters, and they're meant to be used on a daily basis. For that reason, when you have a shiny or polished surface on the A-face, it's going to pick up too many hairline scratches, and it does kind of lose its appeal because it picks up scratches just from doing nothing. So with the brushed A-face here, it is going to protect you from all those very fine, annoying scratches. Obviously, you'll still catch the big ones if you do some damage to the case. I also like what Sanmartin have done with the case back. They haven't gone for anything fancy, and they've gone something which does resemble the Seiko case back, obviously missing the wave emblem, but I like it to be basic, sub 0057. It's wrong because it's SN057, but you know, I think they're working on some model numbers. Sanmartin have shown other discrepancies when it comes to model numbers. Case in point, the Zin Homage. So you've got Sanmartin on the back, Japan, NH35, sapphire, stainless. This is what similar to what Seiko have. Back of the case, again, highly polished. You also got drill lugs, and it's worth noting the positioning of the drill lugs. Very, very well drilled. Great positioning. And that should be the standard going forward. If you haven't got drill lugs on a watch, then at least you should have spring, the new easy release spring bars, which is very handy. Thing is, taking spring bars in and out of your watches, you tend to really scratch up the back of the lugs there, which by design, if you have to scratch something to get in and out, it's not the best design. Also on the case, you've got this lovely bezel, of course, very recognizable, and it is a similar bezel. The style is exactly the same, but very similar bezel to the Seiko 6309, SK007 and SRP reissue. Of course, between the Seikos, they do have a common relation between them all. That's why they share the bezel. So 120 click unidirectional bezel. So I'm just trying to gauge the feel of the rotation. It's good, you know, it's really good. It's not as fluid as I would like it. However, the clicks are positive. You do need to grab a hold of it and give it a firm turn, so it's not very loose. The clicks are okay, and they do sound somewhat subdued. Usually you get this loud ratchety click from a lot of these Chinese watches, but you can tell they've paid some attention to this. Playback, but none at all. Alignment, to me, it looks spot on. It is perfectly aligned. Crown, very smooth threading, very smooth again. As I said, at the box, you do get a very OEM feel for this watch, and little things like the bezel and the crown do also add this to this OEM feel. Let's click out. No issues there. Pop it back in. Let's check the date wheel alignment. Usually I've never come across a alignment issue on the date wheel. Yes, people are picky aesthetically if one sits a bit high, a bit low. I'm not really fussed about that. Only if the date wheel, there's an error with it where when it changes over, it doesn't sit central at all. That would be an issue, but there's no issue on this regarding alignments. Last but not least, straps. Now, I'm not a fan of these wave straps, but I will say great attention to detail. It is a very good quality strap, down from the actual buckle, polished, brushed A-face, very sturdy, and this is a lot softer than the old style Seiko wave straps. And then you've got this shark, 3D shark mold at the end of the strap. Obviously very Seiko-esque rubber strap. I prefer stainless steel, and I actually do have a bracelet sitting there. So let's try it on the bracelet, see if a genuine bracelet does fit this case. I'm hoping it will. Okay, so we have some news. The genuine turtle bracelet, which fits the SRP777 or just the turtle reissue, did not fit the sanmartin. Sanmartin supply the rubber strap. The rubber strap does use the 1.8mm spring bars. So I tried the strap with the 1.8mm, wasn't going in, and then I used the 2.5mm Seiko Fat Boy spring bars. Again, no joy. Looking at it, I think the holes in the drill lugs need to be just a touch forward. It's just not slotting in. Maybe with the thinner ones you can force it in somehow, somewhere by bending the pins, but I wouldn't recommend that because that's not really secure, and it could just snap off really. So what I have done, I've been using this aftermarket from AliExpress. I'll put the link in the store, in the description. And just on this bracelet, it is one of the best bracelets you can get from AliExpress. It's actually very, very similar to that the bracelet on the Seiko Samurai, but of course it comes with straight end lugs, but it does come with a milled clasp, so I'll put a link in the description. Now obviously that does fit. Thing with the Seiko case, you know, they're not quite curved. You've got a very, very slight curve that you find on the turtle, so it is kind of awkward to get a aftermarket bracelet. But looking at this is sized as well. I do like the watch on this bracelet. I've got my genuine turtle on this bracelet, and you can see on the wrist it is a perfect fit, extremely comfortable. You don't even feel the size or the, you know, how big the watch is on your wrist at all. And as mentioned, OEM looks, so sanmartin have done a fantastic job. So quick conclusion, you know, I've done the review, I've spoke about everything which I could see on the watch. Positives, literally, I'd say from what is Homaging, overall quality, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. You know, the finishing on the case, just feel of the watch in your hand, it is very, very OEM. The sapphire crystal, all the small details we've covered, very well built, and I would definitely say it's a must-have if you're collecting Homage watches, AliExpress watches. Even if you're a Seiko collector, it's a must-have. It will give you all the joys of a turtle, obviously without the price tag. The one thing I will mention, and that's the only thing I can think of at the moment, is, and it's on the handset. So it's a funny one because the handset is probably the best feature of this watch that I like. However, for me, the hour hand is just too long from the back end. So you can see it actually covers the minute hand I'm talking about, not the hour hand. The minute hand I feel is too long. It covers too much of the hour hand. So when it is over like that, as you can see, I think it looks disproportionate. It is covering up too much of the hour hand there. They should have shortened that by quite a bit, and then that would have been perfect. I do love the hands, but you can see now that I've pointed it out, it does look very bottom heavy, and I'd say that does slightly mess with the proportions, especially if you look at the hour hand. That's the opposite way. The back end is quite slim, but you can't see it, so maybe some more thought should have gone into that. But literally, that is it. The crown, of this wobble on the crown, it's actually not an issue. Nearly all Seikos have this wobble. Maybe this is a bit too much, but this is actually a design feature from what I found out when I was looking into it, and it's to prevent breakage, accidental breakage of the crown. Imagine if it was stiff, because these are dive watches, you know, you're messing with it, it's very easy to snap a stem. So this here, this play, allows flexibility and it prevents breakages, right? However, screw down, there are no issues at all. So final bit, Okay, this is the plan. Little teaser. I'm going to compare both of these. Heimdall have done an amazing job on their turtle. Sanmartin have done an amazing job on their turtle. So I want to compare between the two. I also want to compare against, before it comes onto the camera, against my personal Seiko turtle, Save the Ocean model, but it has been modified very slightly. So these two videos will be the two follow-on after this. So stay tuned, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you don't want to miss that. Alright, that's it for the review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.